Hi, I'm Linda. Welcome back. Today I just finished up a 2 medium painting. The background is in acrylics. Very simple. Just kind of slapped on some color in the sky, a little bit in the water, the yellows, a little bit of orange, and down in the shoreline here. Maybe a little bit here too. Let it dry. And then I put liquid clear all over it, wiped it off, and I put in my clouds with oil, did my water lines here, some squigglies here, that was fun. Doing my shoreline, and added a little more color down the bottom, exposed some of those rocks. So I hope you get your paints out, follow me, so let's get started. Here are the acrylics I used. White gesso on the canvas, less you have pre-treated. I let that dry, then white gesso with a little bit on a palette knife and scraping in textures in the sand. And then there's titanium white, phthalo blue, lamp black, orange, and cad yellow pale. And here's a look at close-up of the sand. You can see how I scraped some of that gesso on there. And you just use your palette knife, just scrape some on there, smooth it out if you want, take a little off, just so you can see little bits of it. Works out pretty good. I think I'll use this again. And you can see I just put color in this, made the sky, put a little yellow and orange in there, and that's all I did for this underpainting. So I'm taking some liquid clear. I'm going to go all over it, nice coat, and then I'm going to take a shop towel and then take off the excess because you don't want too much or otherwise your paint will run. So I'm just taking off quite a bit of that excess. And here are the oil paints I used. Liquid white, titanium white, lamp black, blue gray, phthalo blue, raw umber, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, cad yellow pale, orange, crimson, and red. So now I'm going into a little bit of that blue gray and white. You can also make blue gray with a little bit of phthalo and white with just a touch of black. You can make your own real pale gray, but this was so handy I just thought I'd buy it. I'm just going over the clouds that I had made in acrylic in a little bit of that blue, gray, and white, a little darker on the right side. Still, you can add, lighten it up if it's too dark, just so it's, covers up a lot of that, the clouds that I made, just buffing it out, billowing. And a lot of that, if you put a light coat on here, it will kind of show through. So if you want it to show through, put a light coat on it. And it's not really affecting much on the yellow, although I'm uh, not going to go over that sunlight area. I'm doing a little of phthalo and white, a little darker blue down in the corner top of that left hillside there. Kind of going over that, making it misty. So I'm taking some of that blue-gray, touch of black. It's just a darker gray, a little bit darker. And I'm going to go on top of the right side of that hill and make like there's distant trees way in the distance. I'm just bringing a little bit down into the hill there. I'm doing a little darker at the shoreline, a little darker gray, and little bits and pieces here, just kind of blending it with my finger, and then crossing, going over the top of the shoreline with a little bit of the darker gray. And then I'll smooth it out with a clean, dry, soft brush. Just a little round brush, but it's nice, works nice to soften. I'm gonna take a little bit of the lighter gray. I'm gonna just mix a little of that in there to make it look kind of foggy like back in the distance. And then I'll blend that in just gives it a little more character, I guess. And going right above that gray line, I guess I'm straightening out that inner tree line there. But underneath the gray line, I'm going to put a real light, very light touch of blue in that white. It's that area is very light. And then I'll go underneath that with a little darker phthalo. And then gray under that. It's kind of alternate colors there. And then you just blend it together. But you can see the separations there. That's all that matters. It's in the far distance. Now on the other side, I'm going to go above that with a little bit of that light powdery gray. And just smooth that out, blend it in. And underneath that shoreline, I'm going to do a little bit of a light, very light bluish gray there. Right underneath that darker line. I'm going to avoid going into that yellow because I like those yellow streaks in the water. I want to try and keep those because I'll be highlighting in a bit. So I'm just meeting up into those waves. Now, little orange spots I have in the sky, I'm taking some blue-gray, and I'm kind of going underneath that. Little circle motions, just trying to blend in a little bit, make that softer looking. Because underneath that, I'm going to add a little bit of white. Same with on top of the yellow. I'm adding a little bit of white and buffing that out. Little circular motions, smoothing that out. And then within the sun rays there, the sunlight, I'm lightening that up a little bit. I'm gonna fade out a little bit. It was a little too yellow for me. But so I'm just kind of putting some clouds real close to those yellow rays. And I'm going into phthalo, touch of black, touch of white, making a nice pretty blue. And I'm gonna put in some clouds, kind of close to those rays. And then I'll take a nice clean dry brush and buff all that out. Blend it. There I am blending right underneath, lifting up, trying to figure out which way I want the cloud formations to go. But the more you blend, the softer it gets. And I always tap out my brush a little and take off the excess paint. And just pushing that blue into that canvas. Maybe even pull some of that blue down. Maybe there's some rain in the distance. I don't know. But I'm buffing all that in, making it soft. Into the darker blue-gray. Actually, I put a little bit of crimson in that section. It's in the blue, dark blue-gray, and I added just a little bit of crimson, and so it made it a little bit lavenderish. You know, give it some variation of color back there. And so I'm just going here and there, adding some white. A little blue, little powdery blue amongst the yellows. Because the sky is peeking through those yellow clouds. Taking a fan brush, buffing that in. Just shaping my clouds. Now I'm taking my finger, put it a little bit into that cad yellow, and just barely touching. I just want it very pale, even more, a little more white in there. So I'm still working on my clouds with the light blue circles. Okay, you're happy with the clouds? Great. So now I'm taking my palette knife with some white and I'm gonna start putting some wave lines way in the distance, just right along that shoreline. Not not all the way, just part way. Heavier in the center. That's where the lightest area is gonna be, right underneath that sun. And you can even add a little bit of yellow in that, make it more of a yellow white if you want, but I think I've got straight white in there because I got the yellow already down, which makes it really nice. So now I'm going into light blue and white. I'm creating a nice color here that's going to blend in right underneath the back waters there. I'm going to bring that forward. And I'll add some blues, but I just want to get a base of the gray in there. And pay attention to the angle. Pretty straight angles in the water. At least right there anyway. I've got a nice flat brush there, like a 3/4 inch, and that works really good for smoothing out calmer waters. Okay, added a little touch more blue in that. And I'm going to start bringing it down in front where the shoreline is pretty shallow in there. So I'm going to just brush some light and dark colors in there. And as I get a little farther down, that's when I'm going to start angling upward. Because that shore, you want to, define that as much as you can. The shore is, waters are rushing into the shore. And in the bottom right corner there, I made it a little bit darker. Put some dark gray in there and some phthalo. And just work that corner a little bit. I want that fairly dark. But keep your angles like you're going upward. And then as soon as you get to the levels off, then you can go back to straight across. More phthalo, white. I'm just kind of getting some of those granules in there. My fake rocks I made with my gesso. Boy, did they show up nice though. Really. Now I'm adding a little bit of orange, maybe a little bit of yellow ochre in the other corner. Trying to visualize where the sun is hitting the shoreline. Of course, it is golden sand, so it is going to be kind of a golden color anyway. And I put a little more on the other side. I'm not going to go all the way up. I'm going to keep it real shallow right there. It'll all kind of make sense after we start working on the water more. And a little bit yellow down there in the bottom. If the bottom is going to be a lot darker, I'll be adding a darker corner there in the left. Added some, see now I'm darkening that up. That is with, oh, could it have a touch of dark purple in there? But that's almost straight phthalo. That's very dark blue. And I'm going to angle around, kind of shaping my water foamies that are going to be rolling in. And it's going to angle kind of into the left corner, probably about 1.5 inches down from that upper shoreline. So I want it pretty high up there. And I'm going to have some water trickling down there, so I'm just putting a little water in there, kind of visualizing some blue areas, blending out some of that sand there. And my palette knife, I'm just shaping the rushing of the water coming in. Just smoothing it out for now. I'll get a little more, have more detail a little later. But I want to get the base in there. Adding a little bit of lighter blue and then dark there in the water. And I'm taking a liner brush. I'm just etching out where that water is going to come in. Actually, it's a little flat brush I'm using. Okay, I've got that all shaped out. I'm still messing with the water. I want to make sure it's, the shadows in the right spot. Adding a little more blue in there. And leaving that light area there where I've got the white water waves. Now here's a little trick that I started with using acrylics. This is made by Freehand, and it's called a precision tip applicator. And I put some liquid white in here. It's got a tiny little tip. See what it does? Isn't that neat? Then I didn't have to use a liner, which you could anyway if you don't have this, but it's really it's kind of it's really kind of cool. And it puts on little tiny lines of paint, and then you don't have to touch it. You just let it, kind of settle, and then you can keep going. I happen to put a little some of my blue chop towel rags. I laid it over the top for just a little bit, and that seemed to soak up the excess a little bit. Help. But using this little tip applicator made for some really nice foam lines in the water. Right now I'm taking a small brush. I'm just kind of brushing that initial first wave backwards. Now here I am squiggling in lines. Now you can correct these with a small brush if you think you messed up or you have too many but I just kept going because I know I can change it if I want. But all these little foam lines, I always wondered how they got them so neat. Well, this is a nice little tool. But your paint has to be fairly thin. Liquid white, I didn't have to add any thinner or anything. I just put a little bit, maybe a tablespoon in that, excuse me, that little applicator. Okay, now I see I'm putting little water lines that's gonna trickle down into the sand. And like I say, you can go back, you'll see me correct some of these. But it's a nice way of shaping how you want your water to run. Just adding little squigglies here and there. Now I'm going in with a small brush. I've got a darker blue-gray, and I'm gonna make some little dark holes. I don't know how else to explain it, but they're little dark areas in those foamy areas. It gives it more of a realistic water look, I think. And all the darker along foam, where the foam comes in. We're going to have some darker areas right underneath that. But in the meantime, I'm going around, I'm adding some blue areas in there. And if I think some of the squigglies are a little out of control, then I'll just kind of fade them out with a brush, add some blue in there. And I'm using my finger to bring down some of that darker gray blue. Or you can use a brush, but this worked pretty good. I even put a little touch of black in there, a touch of purple. So now I am taking a liner and just reshaping and maybe adding where I think it needs another hole of white. And using my palette knife, putting in some wave action behind that. And you can make it however you want. You just really get creative. And pulling some of that white with a palette knife over your rough areas, your texture areas, it really brings out, it looks like little tiny stones in there. I kind of like using that gesso. Okay, a little tiny brush. I'm going in with dark brown, almost black, and I'm going to accentuate some of those little tiny rocks. Just tipping some of the, bringing that up to the surface. You really see them. Boy, I really love doing this painting. I'm going to have to do another one of these. Wasn't that difficult. Now I'm just touching up here and there some of the waves, the wave lines on my applicator again. I'm going to add a few more little water lines coming in. I mean, you can get really crazy with that thing. But it's a nice, great little tool. And waves in the back. You can add little rushes, little waves, splashes back there. Well, I've got a finished painting here, and I really enjoyed this one, and I hope you do too. So be sure to follow me. And till next time, happy painting, and God bless.